Will Goldstein here. Haven't been here for a while. Very busy person. I work a lot on music. Last year I did a book of 100 songs I released and published that with 3 albums I think last year I did, and already this year I did 1 album, and I'm finishing up another album soon. And so if I disappear, if you like these videos and I disappear sometimes for even months, I'm not sure how long I've been gone, but I've been gone for a while, then be assured that sooner or later I'll come back whenever I can. But I'm extremely busy recording digital albums, and I'll be doing that for a long time. So but I do feel compelled to periodically come back and share this. So again, Will Goldstein from thekingscourt.com. You can always go check out my music. It seems like a lot of people like to go to Pandora. The numbers that go there fluctuate and go way up for a while after a release an album, and then it kind of dwindles off after everybody's listened to the album. That's just the way it goes. But it, kind of goes up, peaks and up and down. I want to make very clear, I'm a Christian, even though you see all the things that I've done on other religions. I'm just trying to put out, not that I believe that all religions lead to the same end. I don't believe that, although they all can point, at least in some greater or lesser degrees, point in that direction. And that's why I did all the series on world unity, because some of those churches, there's some truth, because God has created a world that is good, and there's some truth in almost all religions that have some way of pointing towards, at least towards Christ. Again, I'm a Christian. So what I'm doing right now, I realized that even C.S. Lewis, who this book here is Mere Christianity, actually alludes to exactly what I just said there, which I was very happy to see that he actually believed the same thing. What I want to do here is, Mere Christianity is a book. I can't read from it, so I can just kind of tell you, basically summarize what he's saying, sort of in my own words, because it is copyrighted. It started out in the case for Christianity and Christian behavior and beyond personalities that were broadcast, so it was actually spoken, which is kind of like what this is. And then it was finally put together into the book of Mere Christianity. But it's, he starts off not so, at the beginning mostly of just the basics. And it's really, at least in the beginning of the book, is really for people who were interested in God. Maybe for atheists. He was an atheist, so it's originally. So it's for people who are interested in just learning about God. And like the first part, it doesn't even start so much about Christianity. It's just some basic things about who is God and why there is a God. So I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of this and paraphrase it, and so there might be little pauses because I don't have the time to really take notes, so I can just kind of look at the book and places where I may mark things and make some comments on it, and that's about it. So I'm just going to bring out some highlights that I saw in this. He's and again, it's C.S. Lewis. So he believes there's a cause for a reunion. He was Anglican. So most people know about C.S. Lewis. So, but he was Anglican, and so but he does believe that in some sense the churches should, would be a good idea. He's pro some sort of union, that we all sort of have more in common, and he focuses on the strengths and the commonality between them, although he has his own personal preference, but he agrees that we should all respect other people's ideas about what is their particular branch of Christianity. So what he's looking at is really at the center of all these religions, there is something or someone, namely God, that is speaking with the same voice, that's speaking through, at least through these Christians, and I would suggest even speaking through even religions that are not necessarily initially Christian. For example, is Jesus speaking through Judaism, or in the Old Testament? Is there any truth in Islam? Okay, so again, I'm a Christian, so he starts off and has something to say about morals, and one of the things he says is no man is tempted to every sin, and so how can we really feel qualified to give advice about different sins? If I'm not tempted in the sin that you're tempted in, I can't really give you advice. Now, if I'm tempted in the same sins you are, well, then maybe I do have something to share for you. So he starts off by the word Christian, and what is even the word Christian? And, there's one of the things you could say about it is a person who accepts the common doctrines of Christianity. Some people might have a backlash to that and say, well, may not a man who doesn't believe any of these doctrines of Christianity, might he be in some sense more truly a Christian and far closer to the Spirit of Christ than some who do? In other words, maybe their moral behavior is closer and in line with Christian morals. So in that sense, he agrees. In one sense that's a very charitable outlook and a spiritual one, and it's being very sensible and amiable. There's only one problem: it's really not that useful, because morals isn't what gets someone saved, or at least morals by themselves are not. So it's not really that useful. But he agrees that that's quite true. Also, we can't really judge other people and say who is or who is not close to the Spirit of Christ, because we really don't know what is in other men's hearts. And so, in calling someone, saying a Christian is someone who is a good man, well, that's not very useful, because we already have the word good, and it means something different than essentially what Christian means. So that's not very useful. And also he makes a statement which I found was interesting. He's saying that Christians really are the disciples. They're people who accept the teaching of the apostles. That's the closest definition that he comes to a Christian, is someone who accepts the teachings of Christ and the apostles. And so it's really not a moral issue. It's a theological one. It's whether or not you believe the story about Jesus and who he was. That's the important thing. And so then he makes an interesting statement. He says, well, a man who accepts the Christian doctrine and lives unworthy of it, meaning he doesn't really follow all the rules, it's much clearer to say that he is acting as a bad Christian rather than to say that he's not a Christian, because again, the man may believe in the teachings of Christ and believe the apostles and have bad moral character, but his faith is still there. So it's not really a moral issue. It's primarily about believing the teachings of Christ and the teachings of the apostles. So he ends this first section in talking about a hallway, and he's what he's saying, leading to, is that there's different denominations. He calls them communions. So whether you're Baptist or Presbyterian or Methodist or Greek Orthodox or Roman Catholic, these he would call rooms. He said the hallway is the waiting room where you can try the different doors, the different branches of Christianity. So and the hallway is a place where you can open these doors, and there's several rooms. The rooms are places that you can try out, and you leave the hall and go into the room. The rooms may have fires and chairs and meals, but the hallway is a place to wait. The rooms are the places where you go through the doors and places to live in. In other words, decide that you're going to stay with that particular communion. And some people may wait in the hallway for a long time trying to find, the right room, the right denomination, a Christian denomination to go into, and they keep trying, and they go in one door and they're there for a while, and then another one, and God, is doesn't keep people waiting. This is what he says, unless he sees that it's good for that person. And like I said, some of the people may have a long time to wait, or a longer wait, and perhaps that longer wait is because it was good for you, and they had a good result in the end. And the idea is that when you're in the hallway, you're waiting, you're not camping, you're looking for the room, the right place where you feel like this is the place that I want to be. And but even while you're waiting in the hallway, you should obey the rules that are common to the whole house. For example, in Christianity, good morals is common to the whole house. Okay, and most people, I think, could understand what the difference between good and evil. If there's a problem with that, well, then there's this more serious problem. So the question should never be, do you like the service? He says the question should rather be, are these doctrines true? Is when I go to this particular communion, am I going to find, or do I find holiness there? Is my conscience leading me to this place? Do I have a reluctance to go and knock on this door because of my pride? If so, then the situation would be to deal with your pride. Or do I just have a taste, a particular taste? Or perhaps the person that answered the door, you had an initial dislike for the person. These are bad reasons. Okay, you really want to find a place where you feel that your conscience tells you that the doctrines are true, and you're finding the truth there, and holiness is there. And when you reach one of these rooms, there still may be some people that are not in the room, and they're out in the hallways. And you should be kind to them, and you should pray for them, and you should there are even enemies, and we are called to pray for our enemies. And this is one of the rules common to the whole house.